Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing Content Extravaganza. And if you've spent a second here, you will know that I'm on a mission to give you everything you need to be successful in your business, providing that is what you need is to be better at your sales and marketing. So I am here giving you everything I know about sales and marketing. I'm pulling in anyone I can find with experience of sales and marketing to extract that knowledge and experience for you. We look at the effective marketing news every 2 weeks with Melanie Farmer. I bring you the very best and the very worst and react to the very best and the very worst of marketing content on the internet. And this is all designed to support you to be more successful in your business. Now, today is Talk Marketing. So I'm dragging in another person with massive experience of sales and marketing to support you. Today's guest started work way back in 1981 as a hotel manager with the Hyatt Hotels Group before running some of Disney's leading resorts and opening some of Disney's leading resorts. Today's guest is known as America's customer experience coach and leading authority on business growth and team culture. He is the author of Making the Customer Experience Magical Now, all the way from Charlotte in North Carolina, is John Formica. Good evening, John.
Thank you. Good evening. My time evening, wherever everybody else is. I am honored to be here. Thank you, Martin.
They could be anywhere at any time, is the truth. So
That's right.
I think good evening works. Thank you so much for being here, man. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you because your experience is insane, man. You were, it feels to me, right in the eye of that storm when that storm was really kicking off at Disney, when Disney were achieving amazing things.
That's right. That's right. When I joined the Disney company back in the mid '80s, we only had 4 hotels and a campground and 2 theme parks. But there was a massive explosion driven by Michael Eisner, who was the CEO at the time. He wanted to really carry out Walt Disney's vision for Walt Disney World. And so he was, in my opinion, the closest thing to Walt as a person could be, because he had this vision, but he also had the just energy and go-get-emness to make this work. So when I got to Disney, we had 4 hotels in the campground, but we had 16 brand new hotels on the drawing board. And my job was to open up each of the new hotels, hire the staff, train the staff, but more importantly, create an experience, Martin, at each one of those hotels that would differentiate Disney hotels from everybody else and create that experience so people would say, not only are the parks awesome, which we know they are, but the resorts experience is going to be awesome and magical too. So that's when it all started to come about. And we went from 4 hotels to 16. We went from 2 theme parks to 4. We built the largest cruise ship in the world. We opened up Disney stores around the world. We decided to create movies, the animated movies like Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Tarzan. We all know they were like tremendous hits. The music, the merchandise we sold from those, the video, it was just a cash cow. And I thought they were going to take over the world, of which they did. But the goal was to just do it and do it now. And so it was really, really exciting. It was busy, a lot of challenges, of course, but certainly worth it.
And you must have learned a shed load of stuff, like by being in that experience. I mean, it sounds
I,
crazy. It sounds like what I'm wondering now is could that happen now? I don't think that could happen now because the world has become so much more diversified with the internet. There's so much more competition. Could it happen now?
I don't know if I think that was the largest Disney expansion in its history, and I don't think that will ever be duplicated. Disney will grow. They've opened up parks around the world, in Shanghai and Hong Kong and Paris. They have them out there, but they're just sort of they'll have maybe a hotel or two, and then they'll have the theme park, one theme park, right?
Yes.
Because they don't have the land. Disney World in Orlando, Florida is 43 square miles, and it is not even used, all of it. Where where Disneyland in California is little over 5,600 acres. There's a big difference. So
Yeah, yeah.
when Walt built Disney World and he started to purchase all of this land, and nobody knew it was Walt Disney doing it, his goal was to get all this land so that he could have access to build all of this and have
Yes.
monorail and trains going by and so Disney World itself, it's its own entity. It's its own city. It has its own police, fire, electricity, sewage, water. It does it all.
Okay, cool. Because there are other theme parks, but Disney is a world apart, isn't it? And is that because of the
Well,
history? That's because of the movies. That's because of
I think it's because of the history, and of course the movies are able to continue the fantasy, right? So you build an animated movie. Maybe let's say it's Cinderella, right? So
yeah,
you have the Magic Kingdom. There's the castle. So it takes the movie and puts you in the theme park where you feel like you're part of that story. Okay. And
yes,
so they can do that. There aren't, Universal Studios has they have a couple of theme parks and they're very successful and they're big, but they don't compare because they don't have the history of all the movies and the parks. The Disneyland opened up in 1955.
yes,
So, and Disney World opened up in 1971. So you got from 55 to 71, Disneyland made its mark, and now Disney World is, 50 something years old, all because of the continuing history. So as Disney continues to evolve and make movies, when you're talking about marketing, Martin,
yeah,
the movies help market the resorts and the theme park, and the theme parks help market the movies because they
yeah.
have their conglomerate. They own it all.
And they've just
And
got that
now,
huge momentum now, which can't ever be challenged. It's like,
yeah, it's
although,
pretty.
yeah, although, sorry, I do get a bit challenging sometimes. So if I get too
Yeah,
challenging, you just
I
let
love
me
it.
know, and we don't have to pursue it. It seems to me that Disney have kind of positioned themselves quite strongly right now. I don't know if you're aware of this or following this right now on the side of, I don't know what we call it, the more liberal, the kind of woke
Yeah,
um, side of things. And that's an interesting move for me, for a brand, because I'll tell you why. Because I did a little bit of stand up comedy in my life. And they told us when we did this stand up comedy, you don't do jokes about politics or gender or any of those things, because what happens is you split the room and you don't want to do that.
absolutely.
So it feels to me like Disney are kind of splitting the room at the moment. So it's kind of an interesting position they've put themselves in. Are you following
Uh,
this? Are you familiar with this?
Absolutely following it. I don't work for Disney, so they can do whatever they want to do. Um, but I look at it, agree with you, Martin, from a brand perspective. That's something that you need to be aware of, and it may turn out to be successful. It may come back to bite them. I don't know. Time will tell. But any business, um, you want to be careful because you want to believe in one side or you want to take sides. You're going to make someone angry. And I remember Michael Jordan, the basketball star Michael Jordan, right?
Yep.
So he would do things and the people would say, I can't believe you're doing that for Republicans. That's the party, right? You have liberals and Republicans, right? And he said, Republicans buy shoes too.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So and I do know that it has affected them. There has some people that I've known personally canceled trips, not going to do anything, got rid of the Disney Plus, those sort of things. So it's a fine line to walk if that's what they choose to do. Uh, hopefully the powers to be understand what's going on. They know what they're doing. I own Disney stock. I hope they don't screw it up too badly, right?
I don't own Disney stock, but I hope they don't. But this seems to me it's weird. So I don't know if you know M&M's, they also went woke recently. So they've got characters for the different M and
Yep,
M's,
yep.
and one of them is wearing. I mean, this just conforms to the worst stereotype of lesbians, for example, where one of them now wears much more comfortable shoes, and another
Yep.
one now has to presents as being suffering from anxiety and stuff. It seems to me that the world has become so polarized, like because for me,
Hmm.
there's business has no place taking sides
Hmm.
in political discussion, debates, whatever. Business should be apolitical, is what I think, because why would you upset half of your customer base? That's just crazy.
And and you absolutely have to respect everyone. Disney always did that.
Yeah.
Disney always respected whether you were, any kind of gender, any kind of sexuality. Disney always accepted it. When I worked there,
Yes.
there were a number of employees. There was no issue. There wasn't like discrimination. There wasn't anything. It was just we're all happy, and especially in the entertainment industry. Um, that's kind of a little bit more normal than maybe conservative hotel businesses,
Yeah.
but it was what it was and it never affected anybody. And Disney just said, we're going to create the happiest place on earth and fill it with happy people. Right.
Yes.
And it's a family friendly. That's what Walt ever always wanted to make it, a family friendly environment where everyone's welcomed. And it was always been that way. It's just, I get people are starting to take sides and there's always challenges with that.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems to me that the argument has actually got quite ugly. Is the problem, And
I think
so,
so.
yeah, so I don't think that is. Well, I think it's an interesting move on behalf of a brand.
And it's
Maybe
a, and
they
it's a
really
risk.
strongly believe this stuff. But
And
like Republicans buy sneakers, you call them cutely. Republicans buy sneakers. We call them running shoes or trainers, is what
yeah,
we call them.
okay.
So Republicans buy those things, but you would have thought that the traditional Republican families would have been the biggest uh, targets or users of the Disney service experience. But they've done
Yeah, yeah.
amazing things, like even more recently, like the Pirates of Caribbean things. Just astounding what they're able to create. So it's
Yep.
incredibly interesting. Okay, good. We've got a sense of you. We need to get down to business. There are only 5 questions. The 5 questions are your specialist subject today is customer experience. So the 5 questions are firstly, how are you qualified to talk to us about customer experience? Who do you work with? How do you add value to their lives? What is your recommendation for businesses who want to get better at customer experience? What should people read? Who can you throw under the bus who might endure at least, or maybe even enjoy to have a conversation like this with me? So let's start at the beginning. How are you qualified to talk to us about customer experience?
Wow. It's customer experience and customer service is about serving others. And so I've always had that mentality ever since I was a child. Uh, been raised by two loving parents who would give their shirts off their back for anybody, and so it was always that hospitality type environment in our home, welcoming people, taking good care of people, and that sort of thing. But when I started to go through school and get into the hotel industry is all about hospitality, and you have to have a passion to serve others. And I tell people all the time, if you don't have a passion to serve others, you need to find another job, because in the hospitality industry, uh, you're going to work when other people play. You're going to work holidays, weekends, your birthday, Christmas day. It doesn't end, right? They don't close hotels because it's Christmas Day. Um, and so when I had the opportunity to work for Disney, it really, I saw how they created the emotional experience in the customer experience, because Disney's brand is all about emotions. I mean, people, you walk around in the parks and you see people crying, happy crying. They're just, it affects them. You take a picture with Mickey and it's like you won the lottery. I mean, it is just that whole brand is so emotional. And that's what the experience is all about. I'm known as America's and Australia's best customer experience coach. I also have a nickname, Martin. I'm the anti-customer service guy. That is because I don't believe in customer service. Customer service is a waste of time. And I tell any business owner, anybody, if you just provide service, you'll be boring, you'll be out of business in years. Because how many other people in your industry can provide the same service cheaper, more convenient, or whatever it might be? Now you become a commodity. But if you can provide an experience that creates an emotional attachment to them, that's how you create loyalty. That's how you create stickiness. That's how, Martin, you can charge whatever you want to charge and not discount and not worry about using coupons and don't do all these marketing discounts. You charge whatever you want, but you give me value by giving me an experience. And 86% of people will spend more for a better customer experience. So, what I preach is it's all about the customer experience. And so I lived it at Disney, building hotels that we had to start our customer experience from scratch, journey mapping it, figuring out what we wanted the emotions to be when they arrived, when they entered the building, when they ate, when they went out to the pool, all of those, what were the emotions we were going to affect? And that became the experience. And Disney's brand is based on, you just say Disney and people they're already imagining how great it's going to be, right? Because of the experiences, not because they have rides, not because they have food, right?
Yeah.
It's because of the experience you and I get that you can't get anywhere else. And so the experience became my passion of what can we do to elevate the experience? How do we go from just a service level to an emotional experience that people will talk about, people will come often, and people will spend a whole bunch of money. And so when I work with my clients, it's all about what kind of experience are you creating? Because every business owner thinks their product is great. They think their marketing is awesome. They think their service is number one. You know what? No, it's not. It's not. They think it is, but it's not.
Okay.
Because somebody is going to do it better than them and blow them away. And so if you can create that experience, you create that brand that nobody else can match.
Okay, good. Two things. I want to know how. Firstly, no, secondly, I want to know how. Firstly, I want to push back a little bit because I can give you three, although you might have answered this already, but still, I want you to answer it. Three instances where customer service, like you say, is non-existent in a business. There's a restaurant in Cologne in Germany, and they serve. It's not Eisbein. It's something else. It's like this pork knuckle thing. They
Okay.
are famous for their appalling customer service. They are famous for their rudeness. So I went with my mate. You walk in, you could stand there for a week. No one's going to say a word to you. Do you know what I mean? No one's going to help you to a table, and there's no reservation system. There's nothing like that. And then you sit down, so they just ignore you. So you kind of have to fight for a seat, and then you sit down. And in Cologne, they serve these tiny, tiny little 100 milliliter. So what's that? That's a quarter of a pint beers. So you drink these things, and then you've got no beer. They ignore you. They don't bring you more beer. It's like this. I was there with a mate of mine. He said, "Could I have some mayonnaise, please, with my dinner?" And they said to him, "Go and buy it from the kiosk if you want mayonnaise." So they are famous, famous, famous for their complete disregard for the customer. It's like you're inconveniencing them by turning up. Like they're having to do some work because you've turned up. I tell you how serious it is, or how serious they are about this. Is apparently one of the presidents, I think it might have been Clinton, wanted to eat in this restaurant because famously the food is good. Um, so they got in touch, like the American whatever, his posse got in touch. They're like, the president wants to come and eat in your place, and they're like, yeah, that's cool. He can come and eat. But they're like, well, you're going to have to close the place because of security. And they're like, no. Then he doesn't get to come. We're not closing the place. He can come and stand like an idiot with everyone else and fight for a table. So that's the first instance where I think I know what you're going to say because I think I've worked it out for myself. But that's the first. So do you want to answer that. How on earth is that working?
Well, it could be that's their niche, if
Okay.
that's what they want it to be, so that you and I will go, I got to go there because I can't believe they're that rude. Nobody is that rude and still surviving in business. So now you've created my curiosity. So if I ever go to Germany, guess where I'm going to want to go to experience that. So in a
Yes.
way, that might be their niche, or they have such a fabulous following for their food that nobody care. They'll put up with it because of the food. Now, I will tell you that won't work here in America. That
I
won't
don't
work.
know because it
I,
really
it,
works
it,
there, hey?
I'm sure it does, right? I'm not so sure it would work in America, but let's say it did. It would be, I would think, based on I don't believe it. I got to go experience it for myself.
Yeah.
Whereas where I'm already set up to understand that they're going to be rude to me, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I walked into a fine dining restaurant and they were rude, I'd get up and walk out, right? I'm not putting up with that baloney, right? But this, I know that it's going to happen, so I'm expecting it already.
Yeah. What about the Scottish chef? Not the Scottish, the English chef's guy, Gordon Ramsay. What about him? He's fine dining and
Yeah,
he's rude.
he's rude, but he's not rude to his guests.
He is if they
He's rude to the
complain. He
staff.
really is.
He is.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't.
really. I mean,
Okay,
I
but
don't like it either.
he's
I
a
don't.
movie star. But he's a movie star. He can do whatever he wants to do. You and I are going to
Yeah.
go because we want to see him. You
Okay.
know. But if you take the average Joe doing that, I think somebody will smack him in the face.
Yeah. Well, I would smack him in the face if he did that, said that to me, spoke to me
So,
like that.
so again,
I
I
think.
you can certainly do it. I wouldn't recommend it, but it could be a niche.
Okay, cool. I think that example makes your point. Customer service is a waste of time. What they're doing in that instance is they're giving the customers an actual experience, and it's different from the experience that they might expect, so
That's right.
and I'm talking about it, like whenever I talk about these things, I talk about it, so people talk about it. And I think
Yeah.
that's what you probably need to do, is give your customers an experience they can't shut up about. Don't
That's right.
wait for somebody to say, oh, does anyone know where I can get a decent pork knuckle in Cologne? Be talking about it. Do you know what I mean? You would not believe. They told my mate to go to the kiosk and buy the condiment. Do you know what I mean? It's insane.
That's right.
Okay, so that's instance number one. Here's instance number two. At one time in my life, I was selling like high end conference type stuff, but the way they called them summits. So what would happen is we would attract the top buyers in an IT market or a I don't know, supply chain market or whatever. This was in Africa. And we would pull 120 of these people to a really nice resort. And then my team would sell the opportunity to go and meet those people to the suppliers. So we were selling to PricewaterhouseCoopers, IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, like the big players in IT. That was my gig. There was only one way to sell this, John, and that wasn't to be nice to these people. So the way you had to sell this was you had to phone them up and you had to start telling them immediately that they weren't worthy of this opportunity, because these are the country managers of these like huge worldwide corporations. So literally, we would say, our delegates have said that they would like to see representatives from Oracle at this event. But to be fair, we had people from Oracle at our event in Chicago, and they weren't up to scratch. The feedback on them was really poor, and the thing. So I don't think this is going to work for you to be there. And this is somebody like in the first 30 seconds that you're talking to them, you're basically saying no, and then whatever they say can't be good enough. So they'll say, well, I'll send my 4 top guys from like sub-Saharan Africa. And you're like, well, maybe you should bring somebody in from Europe, or whatever they say is not good enough. So when you get to the point, you say, okay, we can do it. It's however many tens of thousands of dollars. And they're like, well, what are you talking about, tens of thousands? And you say, oh, I knew this wasn't going to work. Do you know what I mean? I knew you weren't going to be able to get value for it. And then when you say to them, like, I'm going to send you the contract, I need it back in an hour. They're like, I can't get my legal team. And then you say again, that I knew you weren't capable of doing this, So the only way to sell this thing was to make it as unattainable as possible for these people. So they have to jump through more and more hoops. So it's that huge power of reverse psychology. It was the only way to sell it.
Yeah, I mean,
Respond.
it's that's a sales tactic. You know that in
Yeah.
sales, more different than uh, you want to buy this car in a lot. If you don't buy it right now, it's not going to be available. I can't give you that deal
Yes.
in an hour, right? It's that so that pressure. Only three left. You know, whatever
Yes.
you want to do, it's a tactic. Where I'm coming from is the service industry,
Right.
mom and pop, brick and mortar stores, retail stores, restaurants, auto service repair shops, chiropractors, dentists, um, schools, healthcare, you name it. It's a service industry. What I'm saying is that if you just provide customer service and that's it, I don't know how to differentiate you from anybody else.
Yes.
If I go to a restaurant and I walk in, the hostess gives me the menus, sits me down, a waitress comes in, says, "Would you like some water?" Sure. She gets me the water. Are you ready to order? Sure. I'm order. Is this any good? I don't know. I've never eaten it before. Okay. Do you anything you can recommend? No, not really. Okay. All right. So I'm going to order this, and then 10 minutes later, my food comes. It's a really good meal. The food was really good, right?
Yep.
She comes back like anything else, and I go, no. What took place? I got service.
Yes.
That's all I did. I can
Yes.
get that service at home. But if the people are interacting and creating relationships, and I'm listening to entertainment in the um, restaurant, or the owner comes by, or the chef comes out and says, "Hey, would you like to taste a sample here? We're thinking about putting this on the menu. What do you think?" All of a sudden, I'm wowed. I'm like, "This is awesome. I'm coming back," right?
Yes.
And it had nothing to do with the burger. It had all to do with the experience. And what happens is competition is so fierce that if your consumer cannot differentiate you from everyone else, they're totally going to judge you based on price. So
Yes.
now you're never going to win. You're never going to win because you
Yeah.
can't compete with the big box stores. You can't compete with the big restaurants who have marketing budgets in the millions, right? But you're a small business owner. You have to be different. So I say, I want to support that small business owner because I built a friendship. I really appreciate them. They're awesome. They're friendly. They remember my name. They remember what we ordered last time. They said hi to my kids. They gave them a little extra little dessert, whatever it is. That's what I'm talking about is an experience. And that's what Disney does better than any company on planet Earth.
Good. Okay, I've got one last instance of
Okay.
appalling customer service that I want to run by you. It's also corporations. It's banks. So if I phone my bank, I will bet you a bag of toffees. The first thing I hear is we are experiencing higher than normal call volumes. You're
Right.
going to have
Right.
to wait. Now,
Yep.
I've
Yep.
been hearing that message probably for about 15 years. So when
Absolutely.
are they going to start expecting the right? Like these are
Well,
data-driven businesses; they know exactly. So when I hear that message, the way I translate that message is, we don't give a shit about you, and we don't give a shit about our staff. So basically, we are going to pour tension on this situation for as long as we possibly can. We're going to play you the worst music we can find, so that by the time you actually get to speak to somebody, you're in such a terrible mood, and they've only been dealing with people in terrible moods all day, that it's going to be a really difficult interaction. That's the way I translate that. So,
yeah. Or they'll put you in some queue system. Touch one for this. Touch two for that. Touch
yes,
three for this. I'm counting my fingers. I'm like four for this, five for that. No, it's not that one. It's not this one. And I'm running out of fingers, right, to do this. But see, that's their choice. And banking today, they really want you to be online. They don't want you to go into the banks anymore. And I mean,
yes,
COVID affected even more. That really put a kibosh on things. But they don't want you to come in because of they can save money in staffing and all this good stuff. When you go into a bank, they're usually pretty friendly. I'm not saying they're giving you a super duper experience, but they're cordial, they're helpful, they answer your questions. It's okay. There are people out there that don't know how to do online banking, right? So that you need to balance it so you have both. But that's what they choose to do, which is okay. But I also know banks here in North Carolina. By the way, Charlotte, North Carolina is the second largest banking capital in the United States. Okay.
Right.
And there are hundreds of banks that are smaller banks. And what do you think their niche is? We love our customers. We love talking to our customers. We love meeting our customers. You can go to the big bank and be a number and you'll never even know who they are, or you can come to our branch and you can have a cup of coffee on us, have some snacks in the lobby, right?
Yes.
They're trying to I'm not saying it's going to work all the time, but they're going to differentiate themselves from the big banks, right?
Yes.
And it's working. It's working because I moved my business from the largest bank in the world to a smaller bank because I have my business, my mortgage, my kids' cars were financed, everything like that, and they treated me like crap.
Yes.
And I go, why am I doing this? Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so again, they choose to do it. A funny story. I once spoke at uh, a mobile phone company. I won't name the company. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I was a keynote at their national conference. And when I got up, they introduced me to everything like that. I got up and I took my cell phone out. I'm on stage, right?
Yeah.
And I dialed the 1-800 number of the cell phone company. And I just put it to the mic and let it ring and ring and ring and ring and ring. And the whole entire audience is like, and it
And you're
rang.
not
And then
doing anything while
finally,
it's just going on. You're just waiting.
that's all I did. And then it finally picked up and it says, we are experiencing high volume at this time. Please stay on the line and an agent be with you. And then the music went on and it stayed on it and on it and on it and on music, right? Now, I can see the meeting planner was about to kick my butt because they paid me, lots of money not to just put my phone up there. But my message was, you all are in the cell phone, you're in the communication business and you don't even know how to communicate.
Yes.
And so why on earth would I want to do business with you?
Yes.
And then I went into my program and talked about the customer experience. But again, people just think that's acceptable, but sooner or later, there are going to be people that are not going to tolerate it and they're going to move on to some other business.
Yeah, and I suppose, I mean, we know what's happened is they've done the calculation. They know that it's not easy to move your accounts. It's not easy. Do you know what I mean? It's not
Absolutely.
easy. So they just do, and they basically sail that fine line. Where actually we save this amount on customer service staff, and we gain this much in profitability, and we only lose this much in terms of people actually leaving.
That's right. And in reality, you and I think that all cell phone companies are the same, right? I mean,
Yeah,
seriously, they're all the same,
yeah,
right? So we're going to go with the cheaper. So I'm willing to tolerate for $100 less a month because I don't have to really deal with them as long as I get good service, cell service. My
yes,
phone
yes, yes,
works. I don't care. You can be rude all you want. I just want to make sure if I have a client that I need to call, that it's going to go through, right? So there's certain industries that doesn't matter. But if you're an auto service repair shop owner and there's 10 other auto service repair shops in your community, you're just not going to survive if you operate that way. You're just not going to do it.
I had a customer once, and he converted cars. He's not in this business anymore, so I can tell you. He converted cars to run on LPG, and he was the rudest person you've ever met in your life. Because people would phone in, say, "Can you convert this car?" And he's like, "Oh my god, are you one of the idiots that bought that?" Do you know what I mean? And it's like, and this is where it started. And the thing is, if his service had been amazing, then I'm sure he would go away with it. But it wasn't either, so he didn't get away with it for very long. The point is, I think, and I think I'm resolved. It's not about being nice to people. It's not about, like, from those three instances, it's not about being nice to people. So if in the instance of the German pork knuckle restaurant, your food is that good, then actually you don't have to be nice to people. You know, the reverse psychology thing in sales is very often in sales, either way I define sales is motivating people to do something ever so slightly different. You don't necessarily motivate people to do something ever so slightly different by being nice to them. You know, you have to push them, you have to challenge them. And in the case of the banks, what they're demonstrating is that there is no level of, and you're right, it's a deterrent. So I don't ever call my bank because I know it's going to be a mission. I know I'm going to be in a mood. I know it's going to be ugly, you know. So it's not about being nice to people. It's about
Well,
giving them that experience. That's the
it's
thing.
about giving them experience. And again, I'll respectfully disagree because most of the customer experiences have all to do with people, not products or services. Your
Good.
customers will always remember people over anything else. I'll remember the waitress who was awesome to me and my kids and my family, made us feel special, took pictures, all this. I will remember her, but I won't remember what I ate. Okay.
Yes.
I won't remember if the food was okay. I mean, unless it was like, ah, right? It was okay, but I'm going to remember her. And because I
Yeah.
remember her or that waiter, that's why I'm going to tell everybody else. And because the owner came out or the chef came out and personally greeted me and said, thank you so much for coming. How often do you come? What do you like? Is there other meals? Whatever. Now I feel like I have a connection with the owner or the chef. I'm
Yes.
going back, right? That's the same thing in the retail store. That's the same thing in an auto service repair shop where I establish trust. I
Yes.
trust him. So if that person says, I need new brakes, I trust him. Do
Yes.
it, right? Because we've created a relationship, not because he has the cheapest brakes, not because he's an auto service repair shop. Heck, every auto service repair shop has brakes. But I built a relationship with him. I'm going to allow him to put those brakes on my car for whatever it costs because we built this relationship. When he
Yes.
told me I didn't need the brakes at another time, or he told me that the reason why he's concerned about it is because he knows that this is my wife's car and he knows how I want nothing but my wife to be safe. So I
Yeah.
might want to consider the brakes, right? And I'm
Yes.
thinking, pretty nice of that guy to think of that way, right? So
Yeah.
again, I think again, I'm sure there are times where businesses they have a great product and it's once in a lifetime or one of a kind, and people are going to fly or drive all over the world to go there, and they could act like jerks and they'll still be successful. But I'm telling you, 99% of the owners that are probably listening to this podcast would never survive in that mode
No. 100%.
because because marketing, in my opinion, it's not about acquiring customers. We know every business has to acquire customers. I get it. I have to acquire customers. You have to acquire customers. Everybody has to get customers. But what about the customers we already have? To me, that's where I help businesses because then it's free marketing because they're going to have word of mouth and they're going to have a customer built lifetime forever. And
Yes.
then you still got to advertise, you got to market, still got to do it. But I'm not putting in my all my eggs in one basket. I provide a great experience, and all of a sudden, these people start showing up, and I have no idea where they came from because of the experience that we created.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's the mission, isn't it? I think the mission is to, like, because there was a stat, there was a study, it was done decades ago in the UK, but they said that it was 17 times more cost effective to sell to an existing customer than to sell to a new customer. So that
That's
100%
right.
works. And if you can get your customers doing your sales for you, or at least very often doing your sales, because I'm
That's
one of
right.
these people, if I find something good, it's really important to me that everyone I know buys it. Do you know what I mean?
That's
And I will be 100% clear. No, do exactly this thing. Go on this day. Ask to speak to this person, especially. Tell them that Martin sent you because he was really excited about this thing that you did. Do you know what I mean? I'll be very specific. I'm essentially
great.
closing the deal for them, not just doing the marketing,
Absolutely.
actually telling them how to do the deal. So I think the thing that's important in what you're saying is that it's maybe the most important thing is to be memorable, to be remembered. You know, so and not just by pandering to people, not just by being nice to people, but
Yeah.
actually, and I talk about this all the time, putting yourself in the game and giving some value. Do you know what I mean? Like going
Absolutely.
maybe above and beyond.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah, Good.
That's absolutely right, because it's what can you do in your business that's going to make them remember or make it memorable, make them talk about it. If I need a plumber, right? All of a sudden I have a leak in my house, right? And I know I got to get this fixed and I need a plumber. And I walk down the street to get the mail and there's my neighbor. And I ask my neighbor, "Hey, I need a plumber. You know a plumber?" And he goes, "Yeah, I got a plumber. This guy is awesome. In fact, he's really inexpensive, but he does a great job, cleans up. He's awesome." Do you think I'm going to Google any plumbers in Charlotte to find out one? Or I'm going
No.
to go, "Give me his phone number."
Yes.
Because if you say he's good, he must be good.
Yes.
Whereas if I don't have any word of mouth on anybody referring, I don't know if anybody's any good, but I read their reviews. Okay, hopefully, I certainly trust my neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing if I said, "Hey, I want to go out to dinner, a nice restaurant. Want to do something fun," or my neighbor says, "Oh, last night we went out to this restaurant. It was great. You ought to bring the kids." Where do you think I'm going?
Yes.
That's what, not because the food was great, it's because the experience and overwhelm everything all around was a good experience.
And it was
That's how I
memorable.
look at it. That's
And
right.
the thing is, it's almost like not even just to be memorable. You almost have to break, because we're all just going through life on autopilot. Do you know what I mean? We all just have an expectation, and the expectation just kind of gets met, and so there's never.
Mhm.
You, it's almost like you have to get people's attention. Do you know what I mean? Through by giving them that experience, because
Yeah.
otherwise they're just zombied. They're just not paying attention to what's going on. So you have to kind of
And
stand out in that way.
that's right. And you know what, Martin? It doesn't take a lot to stand out, because in many businesses, service is so bad
Yep.
and there's no experience that if you can do just a little bit, you're going to stand out, because they're going to go, "Wow, they were actually nice to me," or
Yeah.
they gave us this little extra, or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
Um, they took our picture at the table, or they whatever it was. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
Or I'll talk about, and maybe we have time. We'll talk about how you create these experiences.
How? We're definitely coming to how. We're definitely
Okay.
coming to how. So, what's really useful from this conversation is I'm delivering a masterclass to some senior management in a bank in a couple of months' time. And I had no idea what I was going to say to them other than you guys clearly are shit at marketing and you don't have any interest in doing marketing. But I think I'm definitely going to use that thing. I'm going to call their customer service and just see how long it takes for them to answer. Okay, cool. The next question then becomes how, and this might tie in with question number two, kind of who do you work with, how do you add value to their lives? So how are you? But the first thing I want to say before this is, I'm not a fan of corporations. I, where I'm sitting, I see it as being us, small businesses versus the corporations. And you're
Mhm.
100% right. If you actually, when you were talking about the we call them mechanics. What do you call them?
Auto service repair shops. Yeah. Yeah.
Auto
Yeah.
service repair shop.
Yeah.
Okay. If I feel that that person is taking a genuine interest in the way my vehicle is running, then that distinguishes them immediately, differentiates them immediately from the franchise that I go in and they are just targeted to get me to spend more money, more money. So that's what I love about this is two things. Small businesses are empowered to create experiences in the way that corporations just can't, because they've throttled their resource to the point where their staff don't care, literally don't care about their customers. They're in such a bad mood. They deal with bad mood customers all day, so they've done that. So small businesses have the opportunity to do this in the way that corporations can't. And yeah, this is how you add value. And you're 100% right. This is how you prevent the commoditization by distinguishing yourself in this way. Okay, so we need to know how, John. How are we going to create these customer experiences?
So what you have to look at is, and again, what I love working with small business owners, because again, uh, Procter and Gamble is not going to hire me to change their culture, nor would I want that job. I had a job for 30 years. I don't want another one. Okay. And they wouldn't listen to me anyway. And it would take them 5, 6 years to make one slight move forward. Right. But a
Yep.
small business owner, as you know, they have to react, because it might jeopardize whether they're in business next year or not, or whether they're going
Yeah.
to make payroll, or whether they're going to hire people, whatever it might be. So that's what I love about the small business owner, and that's my niche. I just love helping small businesses around the world. And
Sorry, can
so,
we address this quickly? I don't want to break your
yeah,
flow. You know,
please.
like if you get like a cheese and egg flan, what do you call that?
Is that an omelet?
It's like a pie, not an omelette. It's got like a crust on it. It's got a pastry on it.
Quiche.
What do you call
Quiche.
it?
Quiche.
A quiche. So why do you call that a quiche, but you call a niche a niche?
I have no idea. You're asking the wrong person.
And I've been waiting to ask an American this for the longest time, because every
I
time it's just
I have
like,
a hard time speaking English, and I'm American.
yeah, but niche is French. It's not English. It's not English. It's French. It's niche, and like quiche is French. It's quiche.
That's right.
Anyway, you are welcome to do it. But I've been asking. I've been dying to ask an American that for the longest time.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. So
Appreciate
you were saying,
it.
sorry, before I really interrupted you.
So 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 again, so the business owners, one, don't have the resources, don't have a lot of the manpower, don't have all board of directors to run things around. So when I coach them, or if I'm speaking at events with them, or whatever it might be, uh, it's about helping them create that experience. And the experience occurs before, during, and after the sale at every single touch point. That's where the experience begins, continues, and happens after the sale, that continues to make me emotionally connected to you, okay, and your business. And so most people only focus on during the sale, right? I'll give you a good experience while you're here, right? Great, nothing wrong with that. But what did you do before the sale? Before I got there? And that might have been someone answering the phones. It might have been a website. It might have been a what's the Google, Facebook ad, whatever it might be. Before, during, and then what do you do after to make me? It's like come full circle, right? Uh, Lots of different things. So what I tell my coaching clients is this: map out every single touch point that you have, and then figure out what could you do that's uniquely different that nobody else does. Doesn't even have to cost money. It's just, we're going to do this, or we're going to accomplish that, or we're going to welcome them this way, or we're going to give them this, or whatever. We're going to call them when they go back home. We're going to send them a thank you card, or we're going to send a voice message or a text saying thank you, whatever it might be. It could be all kinds of things. But that's where the emotional experience continues on and on and on, so that I become the my business becomes the top of mind awareness with you. You're always thinking of me. You can't help but think of me. So I'm doing things after the sale. My clients are continuously getting things. If I speak at an event at Las Vegas in front of 8,000 people, that client who booked me, that meeting planner, that speaker bureau, whatever booked me, I'm telling you, they love me at the end, because they're getting gifts, they're getting fruit baskets, they're getting leads, they're getting all kinds of things, because I want them to say, wow, we are so glad we booked John. And then they're going to say, I can know of a speaker. We had John last year. You're going to want him at your conference next year. See it? And that's how it happens after the sale. And I'm not just talking about remembering people's birthdays and anniversaries. And those things are good. Don't get me wrong. But I'm talking about, are you really interested in your customer, or are you interesting? Okay. When
Yeah.
you're interested in your customer, you find out a lot about them. You get to know who they are. You get to know their stories. They get to know your stories, and you build a relationship. I have clients to this day that I might be in a bookstore and I come across a book and I go, oh, this client would love this book. And I haven't done business with them in 4 years. I'll send them a book. And next thing you know, hey, thank you for the book. I really appreciate it. So how's business going? Oh, pretty good. Are you still doing yep, yep. I know somebody, and all of a sudden I have a referral. And what did the book cost me? A couple bucks, right? That's after the sale, touch points. And that's the experience that they go, you know what? John walks the talk. You know, he talked about this experience. He's still giving us an experience 4 years later, whatever it might be, because he cares or whatever it might be. So how to do it is come up with what you can do that's going to create a little uniqueness, or at least do the basics. I know businesses that have no basics on their journey map of a customer experience, that they need to incorporate some things because they're missing out. There's some holes, opportunities lost. And so I try helping them put that together. And then obviously you have to hire the right people. If you don't have the right people, you won't create an experience. Walt Disney said this, Martin. He said you can create and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it takes people to make the dream a reality. And you can have the greatest product, but if you have the wrong people servicing you on that product, it won't work, particularly in the service industry. Maybe it works in that place in Germany, but it's not going to work in a service industry from that standpoint. So you have to have the right people. You have to have the right training. You have to make sure that they know what good work is supposed to look like. Disney calls it on stage. It's showtime. It's an experience that you create, right? Disney, it's all about the experience. They will never compromise the experience because every detail matters. Every piece of paper on the floor gets picked up. Every lampshade is perfectly in line. Every sign is a professionally made sign, not a handwritten sign. There's never ever going to be a piece of paper scotch taped or taped to a wall, window, door, or frame. If I ever scotch taped or taped any paper to a wall in one of my hotels, I'd have been fired on the spot. Fired. Totally unacceptable because it's bad show. What happens to the paper? It starts to fold. And so you put this all together and you create the experience. There's no magic wand, and every business is different. But what I love to do is help map out that experience that will differentiate them from anybody in their competition, and they won't have any competition anymore. And then they don't have to lower their prices. They're just giving more value, and people are willing to pay more for that better experience.
Good. Brilliant. So I'm thinking at the core is having that genuine interest in your customer. And what I tell people all the time is that your customer is the most valuable asset in your business. Because if you don't have
Absolutely.
a customer, you don't have a business. It's as simple as that. So the question then becomes, it used to annoy, I swear occasionally a little bit, not very much, it used to annoy the shit out of me that people would come to me often when I was running my business proper as like a marketing agency, and they would say, we need new customers. And it used to annoy me because I would say to them, well, how long have you been in business? And they'll say, I don't know, 3, 5, 10, 15 years. And I'm like, well, what happened? What's wrong with the customers that you've already got? And the answer to that question, obviously, is we didn't value them. We didn't take an interest in them. And now they're gone. So what is the point of bringing in a new customer if you're not actually going to do the thing that you're supposed to do when you're a business, which is extract as much value from that customer as possible in return for delivering as much value as you possibly can for that customer? So the question then is why, and I think I know the answer, but I'm interested to know what you think. Why don't businesses value their customers? Why don't they just do that simple thing? Take an interest and value them.
They say they do, but they don't. And again, they think it's because of their product or service is going to sell everything. They don't have to do anything. They have the best product or whatever it might be. But picture this. Picture a funnel, right? And if you have a funnel and you're trying to do everything you can marketing wise to attract people. I always tell people there are 50 different ways to market. You got to do them all. I mean, because I don't know, some are going to work better than others and different people. So you get people in this funnel, right? They finally, you advertised enough, whatever it is, and they land in the funnel. The funnel, not everybody's going to buy, but then some trickle in, trickle out, and they land in a bucket. And the bucket is your business, right?
Yes.
And the goal is to retain the people in that bucket so they don't leave. Well, what I evaluate is a lot of times businesses have holes in their bucket and they have customers leaving and they have no idea why. And they'll blame it on the economy. They'll blame it on the big box store that opened up down the road. They're blaming on Amazon and all these other things, but yet they have not taken care of their existing customers. And when those existing customers create loyalty, and I'm not talking about repeat business, I'm talking about next time business. The difference between repeat business is I might repeat doing business with you because you're convenient. I don't know anybody else to choose. So I'll just go there, right? That's repeat business. But if I found someone else better, where do you think I'm going? I'm going to someone else. But next time loyalty is when someone says, I don't care who opens up down the street. I don't even care what they charge. I'm staying with you, right?
Yeah.
My loyalty is with you. That is when you really got them. And so what I try to do with businesses is try to figure out where their leaks are and plug them up. Because
Yes.
then you have this bucket just fills. And now you're overflowing. And now guess what? Open up another store, open up another, because you got all these customers that love you. Right. And so,
Yeah.
but here's my take on this. Taking care of existing customers is not as sexy as marketing. And you're the expert. You know this better than me. Okay. Marketing, new Facebook ads, new brochures, new this, new ads, let's do a new TV. Man, that's cool. Let's work on that. That is so neat, right? That's where the excitement is. So everybody wants to do that. But then they don't realize that they don't even know if it works, but it's fun doing it. It's creative, those juices. Let's get a graphic designer to do this. Let's do it. And it's all this. But guess where the hard work is? The hard work is in providing a customer experience. And people do the least resistance stuff.
Yes. And here's the other thing I think, but I'm going to have to revise this because I say this a lot. I say, you may not know what a Robin Reliant is, but I say you can't provide a Rolls Royce service on Robin Reliant money. So, and a Robin Reliant is that tiny little three-wheel car. I don't know if you've ever seen one. You might know, but that's what it is. But clearly, that's the worst car and the best car. And that's what businesses do. Is I've never met a business owner that hasn't wanted to be the best in their market. But then at the same time, they always want to be the cheapest because they think that people want to buy the cheapest thing. And that puts you under a ridiculous amount of pressure because now you've got less resource and you're trying to deliver the most value. So there is no spare to invest in this customer experience. There is no spare to be nice to somebody because you're just under pressure to get things done all day, every day. And so I think we're building quite a nice story here where actually it kind of comes full circle. If you're genuinely interested in people and genuinely interested in delivering the value, it's not about being nice to them, it's about challenging them and pushing them a little bit. But also it's about charging a little bit more because people will pay for that experience. They 100% will. And you're right, that little bit more is the bit that will, like, I'm not going to risk if I've got a plumber who's fixed my problems 5-10 times and always answers my call quickly and has referred me to a really good electrician as well and whatever, and comes and says, you don't really need that, you need this, but it's less money, then I'm not going to risk because all I want is to get the job done, and the disaster is you could pull in a plumber into your house and you're tossing a coin. In fact, you're not tossing a coin. 90% of the time, it's going to be a horrible experience. And it's going to cost you more money than it needs to, and. So all people want to know is that the thing's going to happen that's good, that they're going to get a good job.
And you'll pay more for that plumber if he charges, $50 more an hour or whatever it might be, but he's efficient. He doesn't, take his time. He gets in, does a great job. I'm willing to pay more because I know it's done and
yes,
it's done right. And I look forward to calling him. I look forward to referring him. That's all about the experience.
Yes. So I don't think people get that thing, that the customer is the most valuable asset in your business. And I don't think, and then they come to disrespect the customer because the customer is just an inconvenience. because now every time I bring in a customer, I've got to do this really difficult thing, and I haven't got enough resource to actually do it well. And now the customer is coming with their own ideas about what's required, and I haven't budgeted for that. We haven't got budget to talk about what you really want, what you really like, what kind of day you're having. We haven't got budget for that. We need to get this thing done. And that's how I think they put themselves under huge pressure.
But again, it doesn't have to be a lot, and it could be the right people at the counter, or whatever, that's friendly. I'm saying you need to go into a whole story. How you doing? And hey, I come in to get my car fixed, or whatever it might be. I don't want to hear a lifetime story, but it's that friendliness, helpfulness, giving me some ideas, and maybe offering me a drink or something while I'm waiting. It's those sort of little things that add up in that emotional. Picture this. We all have an emotional bank account, right? Every one of us. And a business owner needs to make deposits in that banking account, that emotional bank account. And you keep making deposits, all of a sudden I still want to go. I want to go there, right?
Yes.
So you drop little deposits in my emotional bank account, and all of a sudden you got me.
Yeah.
You got me.
100%. There was something else that I wanted to say then as well, is I do this in my life because I just do this because, I spent the first 10 years of my life, I was in sales, proper cold calling, blah, blah.
Mm.
And that's where you have to crash people's lives, because you can't just phone up and go through the motions, because they're just going to hang up and forget that you ever called, and nothing's ever going to happen. And I still do this today. So if I'm in a supermarket and I get to the front of the queue, and the person on the till is asleep, and they're just like beeping the things, and they're expecting you to give them their card, but they don't get that with me. It's my mission to wake them up out of that slumber. Do you know what I mean? And I have to do that all the time in all sorts of relationships, and like just fleeting relationships. If I'm in the queue at the airport, I'm going to have to make friends with the people in front of me and the people behind. And it's like, I think that's missing in our culture, because we are so attached to our devices, and so I think that's a really healthy thing to do. But you're right, it's the people. You have to bring in people who have a genuine interest in people. That's where it all starts from.
Well,
because if they
it's
have,
kind of like this.
You can't teach that.
That's right. Disney hires people to fill roles, not positions.
Right.
Right. So if you look at me, for instance, I'm a very outgoing person, love people.
I wouldn't have said that.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So if you had a let's just say a restaurant, and you needed someone to greet people as they entered the restaurant, do you think I'd be good at that?
Yeah, I think you would.
I'd be awesome. Yeah. I mean, I would love to do it. I'd welcome the kids. I would give them a little. I would love to do that, right? Why? Because I'm in the right role. That's who I am. But if you said, John, I got a job for you. You need to go back in the restaurant and label all the food with the dates, so we know that the health department everything's in order. I need you to do that for the next couple of weeks. I will be miserable. I could do it, but I don't want to. See, people, businesses, and small businesses in particular, because they don't have an HR department and all that stuff, they hire warm bodies, and they think they can train them, and they think they can mold them to the culture that they want. And that absolutely is not going to happen. You're not going to mold anybody. You hire people that already want to do that.
Yes.
You hire people that already enjoy doing it. And that's what Disney does. Disney, before you fill out an application to work at Disney, you have to watch a video. And in the video, they'll tell you that you're going to work when other people play. You're working weekends. You might not get Christmas Day off for the next 5 years. And they talk about the grooming guidelines that are so strict. There are military people that could never work at Disney because they can't pass Disney's guidelines. And then they talk about your raises are not based on how long you've been with Disney, but how much value you bring, and it's measured every year. And if you don't bring any value, you don't get a raise this year. And you want to know what happens, Martin? 15% of the people walk out the door and don't even fill out an application. And Disney says, thank you. Doesn't mean you're a loser. Doesn't mean you're not going to be successful in life. It means you're not a right fit for Disney, because the whole reason why you get hired at Disney is to make people happy. And if you don't want to make people happy, find yourself another job. Now, But I have a job that's not dealing with guests in the parks and hotels. Then who else do you make happy? Your fellow coworkers, right? If you cannot do that, you will not ever work at Disney. That's why when you and I go to Disney, we think, what is it with these people? Everybody's so friendly. Everybody's so happy. Everybody's so,
Yeah,
trust me, they're not all that way, but they realize that they have to act that way on stage because their sole reason why they were hired is to make people happy. And that's
good.
why when I work with culture, I help team environment cultures, we create a customer focused culture. So it's not just a flavor of the month, it's bread. I mean, you wake up thinking you're going to do this because that's how you create that culture and you hire for culture.
Yes.
And the training supports the culture.
But then this comes back to the resource allocation, which is small business are thinking, I just need to get a body in. I can't be particularly fussy and I haven't got a lot of budget to do this. So, so this is where it all goes wrong. So I'm
But
really,
that's not true. That's not true.
it's not true, but
That's
that's what
what
they
they
believe.
do. That's what they believe, but
Yes.
then they don't realize the consequences for doing that. I mean,
Yes.
you can hire anybody you want, right? Go hire some homeless person off the street and have them, serve coffee. You could do that, but I don't know if I want to look at a homeless person while I'm fine dining, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
so at a restaurant. But the key is you the Disney does three things really well. They hire right, they train right, and they treat right. In other words, hire the right people, train. Training is not as an investment; it's not an expense,
Yeah.
and then you treat the people well. And that doesn't necessarily mean pay them a lot of money. It means you take good care of them.
Yes.
You show that you care. You demonstrate you care. Um, and if you do that, you create a great environment. And then
100%.
people will do it because they want to, not because they have to. How many
Yes.
businesses do you know where the employees do it because the boss said so?
All of the
You're never going
businesses
to,
I know do it like that, and
and
it's wrong.
you can't survive.
Yeah. And the thing is, the upside of this is huge because now, instead of having dozens of shitty interactions with your customers every day, every interaction you have is good and fun and has a really nice outcome for everybody because the outcome doesn't have to be the customer getting screwed out of a little bit of money and the employee having to have a fight to get out of the interaction. Um, there was something else I wanted to say then. I think the potential downside of this is businesses can take it too far so that the employee environment isn't great because there's so much
Mm-hmm.
focus on the customer. So there has to be, I think, a good balance here somewhere because you hear about,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Walt Disney said the employee is number one, not the
yeah,
customer.
yes,
If you take good care of your employees, they will take good care of your customers. Now, it didn't mean neglect your customers, of course,
no,
right? But it starts with your employees. And if
yes,
we don't do a great job with them, now Disney, I'll give you an example. At Disney World in Orlando, Florida, there are
yep,
75,000 employees. 75,000 employees just to operate the Walt Disney World Resort. Okay,
yep,
is the largest single one location employer in the United States. Now, not every 75,000 people are all great. All right. Some have bad days, some have good days, some are in bad moods. It happens.
yep,
However, you won't notice it because those people, when they are on stage in front of customers, they put on their best show.
yes,
Now, behind the stage, backstage, they can be complaining all they want about the customers and these people over here are jerks and everything else like that. I can't believe how hot it is. My boss says this is the third Sunday in a row I got to work. You can do all that in the work behind the scenes, but on stage, it is showtime. And Disney will
yeah,
never sacrifice that show. And that's what you get trained on, to put on a perfect show. And a small business owner can do that very easily when they look at all of those touch points along the way.
100%. Good. And this, like, we haven't got time to talk about it now. Maybe we'll have another conversation at some point in the future. But this
anytime.
is interesting to me because in these conversations, what I've discovered is that a lot of sales and marketing people are coming from performance type backgrounds. They've either been
Mm.
DJs or stand up comedians or actors or singers or any of those things. So I've
Very
got
creative.
this recurring thing where how much of sales and marketing is actually performative. From what you're saying, it sounds like you would say a lot.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a big piece of it because again, how many of us like to do business with people we like? All of us, right?
All
So
of
if I
us, yeah.
like the salesperson, I'll be willing to do more business with you. If I
Yes.
don't like the salesperson, uh, I might not do as much, right? Or look for somebody else who's going to treat me better, whatever
Yeah.
it might be. So, marketing is about imagination. It's about curiosity. Marketing is about, and Disney does this better than anybody. And I always teach my clients that they don't sell a product or service. They sell imagination, curiosity, and happiness. That's what you sell. And Disney sells imagination, right? If I just told you we're going to Disney, you're already imagining that's going to be like. Like you're imagining what the park's going to be like, and Mickey and the theater and all the costumes. You're already imagining that, right? If you
Yeah.
ever watch a Disney commercial, I mean, they put you right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, I'm there, right? And then the curiosity kicks in. They sell curiosity because now you're curious of what it'd be like when I go there, and what it'd be like, and the food and the rides and that curiosity of what my kids are going to go through and all that stuff. And then you put on a great experience, and what do? I walk away happy.
Yes.
So if I'm selling, if I'm a restaurant, I'm not selling food. I'm selling the imagination of a dining experience. Food's part of it, but I'm selling. If I see a picture this marketing. I always have arguments with people on this one. So if I own a restaurant and I show pictures of the plate, of the food, of the hamburger piled up this high, that's not marketing to me, because how do I know that's your hamburger? But if you show me a video of a bunch of people having a good time eating at this restaurant, and I see them holding a burger like this, biting into it, that's marketing. Because what did you
Yes.
just sell me? You sold me imagination, right?
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of businesses they go wrong, because they show pictures of realtors, they show pictures of houses, but nobody in them. They show
Yeah.
you dining rooms with it's all plated, but there's nobody in there. They show you resorts with empty pools. No, sell me the imagination. So I want to say, wow, I picture myself there. I want to go there. And you got me. You
Of
got me.
course. Yeah. Because actually, what we want in all these things is the experience. You know, it's
That's
not
right.
the product is the product, but the product could be supplied by any one of 50 million companies. What we're all interested in, I think, is the experience. Okay, good then. So, question number three. I think you've already answered this, but if you could answer it in a really succinct way that we can chop up and put onto TikTok and Instagram Reels and stuff, that would be really good. What's your recommendation for people who want to get better at customer experience?
Okay. I think one of the things to do is make a list of, first of all, ask yourself these three questions, or ask yourself this question. What are three things do you want your customers to say about you? What are three things? They can write it down. What are three things you want your customers to say about you, your business, your product, your people, whatever it might be? Write those three things down, and that becomes the beginning of what the experience that you're trying to create. The next thing is, what behaviors must be done by you in the business and your people in order for people to say those things? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. If you leave a Disney park, you're going to probably say things like, they paid attention to every detail. I can't believe Disney World. They pay attention to every detail, right? So if you want your customers to say they pay attention to every detail, what does Disney do to make people say that? Well, if you go to Disney World or Disney Resort or Disneyland, you can't find a piece of paper or trash anywhere. Why? Because At Disney World, there are 75,000 custodial people who pick up trash. In other words, everybody picks up trash. Even the CEO of the company picks up trash if they see something on the ground, right? So if 75,000 people behave and pick up trash, what are you and I going to say when we go visit? Attention to detail, right?
Yes.
They might say something like, they made me and my children feel special, right? So what behavior, if you want if you want your customers to say that, then what is you and your staff doing or can do to get me to say that? So at Disney, they might be taking pictures of you in front of the Magic Kingdom castle. So you don't, let's say you're going to take a selfie and you go, hey, let me take that picture for you. So you're in the picture. Or I might get on my knees, eye level to a child and say, how are you today? What's your name, Mary? Hi, Mary. And give her a little trinket, a little sticker, a little Disney figurine, right? When I walk away, I'm going to say, man, those people made me and my children feel special. So you have to do those things in order for people to say those things. And when you do that, you start to build your customer experience. It's not that difficult, but it's the time spent to do that. And I always tell businesses, do it with everybody. Don't just you do it. You do it with your staff. You get everybody involved so that there's ownership, and you'll be surprised. You can map out a very unique, memorable experience. Because if you want this to be said to your customers to say about you, it had to be memorable, right?
Yeah, yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Pretty
Okay, good.
simple.
Question number 4. What should people read? There's a book about making the customer experience magical now. I would recommend that. I'll put a link to that below so people
Okay.
can acquire that. What else should people read?
I like a book called, I like really simple books. I like a book called Hug Your Customers.
Okay.
Uh, and it's by Joey Bear, I believe is his name. I probably have it here somewhere. Um,
Joey
I
Bear.
love that.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yep.
Joey
I
Bear wrote a book called Hug Your Customers. Is that like a bear hug, do you think?
No, that's his last name. Is just his last name is just that.
He
I
should have called
believe
the
it is.
book Bear Hug Your Customers if that's his last
There
name.
you go. Right?
That would have been
Chewy.
an experience.
In fact, I might even have it here. I got it on my shelf somewhere. But so that's always a good one. I think I love authors like Shemp Hyken. He's got a couple of books. He's got a book called "I'll Be Back." It's about customer loyalty. Um, yeah, there's a lot of, but again, I focus on, and they need to focus on the experiences. What even the books on Starbucks or the books on Chick-fil-A. That's a fast food restaurant here in the States. Um, just figure out what they do and how you can tweak it to do. When I speak at conferences all over the world, and I share the Disney Success Model. So my program is called "If Disney Ran Your Business, What Would It Look Like?"
Yeah.
Right? I don't care. You can fill in a blank of business, any business you want. What would it look like? I will show you what Disney would do in order to create a magical customer experience and create loyalty for life. I'll show you whether it's from the customer's perspective, whether it's from the employee experience, whether it's leadership, whatever, hiring, whatever it might be. But the point is, we all know what we want. If we put ourselves in the customer's shoes, we know what we want. Now you just got to go and do it.
Yeah.
Just got to go and do it. So,
Brilliant. Cool. How has your experience of this conversation been today?
oh, I loved it. I learned a lot from you as well, Martin. I love your. When you talk to marketing people, I love it because they're very creative and they come from a different mindset. I'm an operator, right? I had to learn how to market in my business. Uh, when I started my speaking business and training business, I was broke because I ate a lot of tuna fish out of a can, and my wife wondering when am I going to get a real job because I had a great skill set. People said I was awesome, dynamic, entertaining, engaging on stage. They love me. They love my message. They love the Disney message, learning what Disney does, how to do it. But if you didn't have the third piece, marketing, you're broke. And you
Yes.
know that as well, right? You can have
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
great product, you have a great service, but if you don't have a good marketing strategy, you're broke, right? And so I
Yeah.
had to learn how to market. So I love people like you and how you think because that's a skill that I'm always learning, and I'm always learning. So to get better and better and better, and luckily I've been successful enough to build a very successful business. And so, but it took a lot of hard work. Where somebody like you, it just seems like it comes natural.
You know what? I do think that a little bit. I think that marketers are kind of born, but I think kind of speakers are kind of born. I think it's the Larry kids in school. We're the ones that end up in sales and marketing. Hopefully, like
Yeah,
if we end up doing something worthwhile with our lives. So I think that's what we are. And what did I want to say? The lesson I'm taking away from you, not because it's the first time I've heard it, but because maybe I needed to be reminded now, and the universe has delivered you to me to remind me of that, is that marketing doesn't stop when you pass the lead to the salesperson. It doesn't stop when the person buys it. It doesn't stop forever. Like as long as that person is your customer, which is the mission, should be the mission of marketing, sales and marketing, then it should be a continuum throughout. So thank you for that. I like to check on people's experience of this conversation before I ask them to throw people under the bus. So I'm interested to know that you have enjoyed the experience, to see how difficult
absolutely.
it's going to be for you to throw people under the bus. So ideally, they will be people, and most people throw a couple of people under the bus who you can introduce me to, who you think might take value from this experience, and that my audience might take some value from.
Absolutely.
Do you have a couple
Absolutely.
of people in mind for us?
Sure. I have a person who uh, talks about the experience from a standpoint of I don't know if you have next door. Do you have next door is kind of like a Google Yelp review, whatever it is, but next door is for local business owners. And Kim does a great job, and she's all about the grateful, um, the, being grateful and be grateful in your business, be grateful in your life, be grateful. But she's just a sincere person, full of energy. I think she'd be great communicating back and forth with. She might be good, and I'll of course send her that information, get information on that as well. And
Excellent.
then and I'll send you a list of people, and I'll give you a little, tell you what they do, and they're great. I have
Okay.
lots of people.
Brilliant.
We'll
Thank you
keep you
so much
full.
for that. I
We'll
am
keep you
very
full.
slowly making my way into your part of the world. It doesn't work brilliantly with time differences and things like that. But I think you're the fourth person only out of, I think there are 70 of these now. There's
Okay.
63 that are live already. So I'm very slowly making my way into America.
And
So
of
if you
course,
can help me
and
with
of
that.
course, you had John, JD,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, JD.
Jay, that was an
Yeah,
experience. So JD
yeah.
in Australia, yeah.
He's my brother from another mother.
Is he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We've gotten to know each other. We've been on speaking tours in Australia together. Um, he's just been awesome. So
He's a great guy.
yeah,
Yeah, his
great
one
guy.
is going up. I think next week we're publishing his one only.
Okay,
Yeah, he's got
super.
a great take. Man, I have thoroughly, thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. It's been really interesting, really useful. It was kind of, what was my expectation? My expectation was kind of, I think, in the way, sometimes in the way that you guys, the Americans, go away about these things, there's a lot of bluster. Do you know what I mean? Where everything
Yeah,
is just great, just great, just great. But I don't think that's what you've delivered for us today. You've really given us a sense of the work that goes into creating these customer experiences. And I think that's been really, really
a
useful.
lot. Yeah, I mean, it's to create a culture. I always tell people it's not that difficult. Implementing it is, but to create it is not that. There's steps that I teach people to do, and then leadership has got to back it, right? Leadership's
Yes.
got to make sure it stays out forward. Leadership's got to make sure they continue to bring people in that believe in that. Leadership's got to be out there. When I do leadership workshops, one of the first questions I ask is, how many people in the audience feel like they're a babysitter?
Yeah.
And almost all the hands go up. And I go, I doubt that all of you got into business to be a babysitter, right? That's not why you became an entrepreneur and a small business owner. But you've created that based on the culture that
Yes.
you create. So my job is to get you out of that. I want you
Yeah.
to come to work. I want you to focus on your business, not in your business.
Yeah. 100%.
Right?
And that's what I think gets lost is people don't realize that they're creating their situation in their small business. Because it's like immediately you get on, it's like getting on an amusement park ride. You get on, it takes you, you're gone. Or like getting on a wave, you're gone, you're moving. And then it's always about, trying to keep up or trying to stay on the wave so I think people don't realize that maybe they have more opportunity to be directing things within their business than they think.
And
I
it,
think very
and it's
often.
hard. We know, Martin, it's hard. I mean, business owners focus on the job, right? The task. They got a lot of things on their plate. They're wearing many hats. They get
Yeah,
so focused on this, they lose sight of when I come in and evaluate and I go, you're missing this. This is terrible. When's the last time you checked your restrooms? Like,
yeah,
I don't know, we cleaned them last week. They don't have systems in place. They
yeah,
have none of that because they're just small business owners. They're good at what they do, but they don't understand the bigger picture.
100%. Okay, thank you so much for your time, man. Thank you so much for
My
being here.
pleasure.
What
Thank
we'll do
you.
now is we'll say goodbye for the sake of anyone who's still listening, and then I'll hit the stop button and we'll say goodbye like normal human beings. But I have thoroughly, thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, man. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for clearing up that whole quiche, niche, niche business as well for me. That's an unresolved issue I've had for a while.
My pleasure. I'm glad to be of help.
Thank you, man.